just want to start this speech with an open question. Do we have any sports fans here at Toastmasters? Great, great. That's a big portion of the speech, so I'm glad we have some sports fans here. Football, basketball, I'm guessing. Some common, popular American sports. Well, I'm here to share a little bit with you, my fellow Toastmasters, about a sport that just recently moved to the top of my sports watching depth chart, if you will. A depth chart being your order of sports you prefer, players you pick to play, football term. But I digress. And I feel like this topic is especially important because NHL playoffs are currently going on right now. And I feel like there may be a little lack of exposure for my fellow members here because San Diego does not have a major market hockey team, which is a little unfortunate. But I'm here today to urge you on why you need to start watching hockey today. And the reason that really prompted this speech for me is that last night there were 3 Game 7s played simultaneously. 3 Game 7s. Now, if you're not familiar with the magnitude of a Game 7 in professional sports, it's simple really. It's the deciding elimination game in a given playoff series. Win or go home. All the blood, sweat, and tears, all the practice, all the travel, all the games you've played to this point, nothing else matters except for those 60 minutes that you're on the ice or you're on the court. And it's win or go home. Now, the reason I really wanted to do this speech is because I was watching SportsCenter and they were saying, this is the first time there's been 3 Game 7s in a given playoff series in any major professional sport in years. And, I mean, as a hockey fan, that's something to get excited about, because that's 6 teams playing for their lives. And so, if you're a fan of sports, that's really just like money right there. So, I just want to talk about 3 points on why you need to start watching hockey today. The first being the game. Hockey is a special game in itself. If you've never attended, I'd say that's the bread and butter of really understanding the passion of hockey. And it all stems from the players. The players play with this passion that I feel like many sports have a hard time matching. And you really see that passion transcend into the fans. And I know there have been, stories of hockey fans being so passionate. Well, it really starts with the players, because hockey players play with more passion than any sport I watch today. And I love watching sports, from football to basketball, to even some soccer, World Cup. But hockey takes all the elements of those sports, combines them into a super sport. And really, if you don't fully understand the sport of hockey, it's really like soccer on steroids. They've taken the playing field of soccer, huge, enormous, men running across, very slow to get from one point to the other. They shrunk it by 4 and put these giant men on ice. The slipperiest substance known to man, flying across the ice. And they've given them sticks. I mean, just right there, you're already sucked in. Alright, now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Players fly across the ice at breakneck speeds, crashing into each other. There's no stoppages in play here for fouls. We have maybe 4 penalties a game, 5 penalties a game. This isn't like basketball where there's a whistle every 20 seconds. In hockey, you can have 5 to 10 minutes of continuous action without stoppage in play. And I think that's kind of a remarkable, kind of stat about hockey that really differentiates itself from other really popular American sports like baseball and football, because there's really no continuous action. And so hockey kind of satisfies that niche, if you will, of just continuous, non-stop play. And the NHL is really a well-run organization. I think they've really gotten the sport down today. It's a little more modern version of some of the sports we have. There's instant replay, just like football, but the instant replay is actually conducted in a centralized location in Toronto. So all the scoring plays, everything's really consistent. I think that kind of adds a nice element that you can always count on the NHL to get the calls right. And so, because that's important, because when players are playing hockey, I mean, the passion is there, and they got to make sure that good calls are being made. And if they're not, they're going to fight. Which brings me to my next point, the fighting. In no other organized sport is there fighting like there is in hockey, and I think that's really something that sets it apart. And the fighting in hockey is kind of special. I mean, two guys don't just fight on a given day because they don't like each other. They fight to shift momentum, to make statements, and to exact revenge on opposing players that might be getting in your goalie's space. You give my goalie a nice shower on your way in, you better watch yourself on the next face-off, buddy. And I think that goes along with the passion that the players really exude in hockey. Which brings me to my last point, the prestige of hockey. We've all heard about it. The Cup. The Stanley Cup. Why is it so special? I mean, the NHL slogan is because it's the Cup. Like, wow, that's really self-promoting. But no other sport can really hinge itself on a statement about a championship trophy like this. Because this is no ordinary championship trophy. This is not a trophy that's replicated every year. And your name is engraved in history with many of the greats when you win the Stanley Cup. There have been stories about victors even baptizing their children with the cup, drinking beers. The cup is the culmination of what players play for, and this culture of hockey that when you're starting very young, they teach you that this is the pièce de résistance, if you will, of hockey. And this is really something for me that helps me understand better why hockey is really the sport it is today. And so, now that I've given you all a little background on the game of hockey, my fellow Toastmasters, now that I've explained a little about the game, a little about the passion, the fighting, and a little about the prestige of hockey, I urge you, my fellow Toastmasters, to tune in. When you see those Clippers matchups on your digital cable set-top box, maybe click down to the NHL channel just below that and give hockey a shot. As I mentioned, these are only 3 general elements on why hockey is such a great sport that it is today. And I hope that you all can enjoy hockey like I have this year. So, thank you.
Timer, can we have 2 minutes on the clock?